Barack Obama never wanted this coming out, but we're bringing it out now.
It was public record that Barack, had a girlfriend with whom he lived in Chicago.
When it comes to the Obama's early years, there are still plenty of unanswered questions, and one historian uncovered an overlooked piece of the puzzle while challenging the propaganda behind his memoir.
As I said back then, and it's a phrase that still angers Barack, it's a work of historical fiction.
And today, we're covering it all. So let's get right into it.
Part of the book, one thing that really is sort of coming back to the fore again is the fact that you interviewed Barack Obama's former girlfriend and the specifics of that sort of part of his origin story. Why was that so important, and why do you think that still resonates right now?
One of the most striking things about Dreams from My Father, Barack's memoir, is the utter absence of women from the book. I mean, not just the three major girlfriends, but his mother, too. Now,
who raised him.
Yes. Anyone doing a biography wants to identify and interview all the important people in your subject's life. Alex McNear, Barack's first serious girlfriend, Genevieve Cook, his second in New York in the mid-'80s, and then Sheila Jager, with whom he lived for 3 years or so in Chicago. Sheila had never been named before.
Now, that's David Garrow, the Pulitzer Prize-winning historian behind, quote, Rising Star, The Making of Barack Obama. This is a best-selling biography that digs into the people, relationships, and life experiences that shaped the former president's worldview. But while researching the book, David came across several details that Obama either left out of his 1995 memoir or outright misrepresented to tell a more compelling story. One of the biggest revelations involved a girlfriend that public had never heard of before, despite the fact that she played a major role during one of the most formative periods of his life.
Sheila's story is so important, so powerful, because she's living with him while he's doing the community work on the far south side. That's the first time Barack has been in a majority black cultural setting, before Chicago. He grew up in Hawaii. Most of his college friends were international students. When he's in New York, similarly, he's not living in a black context whatsoever. He's working for a financial services firm. And so Sheila was present during this very formative period when Barack embraces his black identity. And also when Barack is having his first thoughts about a political career in the future. That's why he chose to go to Harvard Law School in 1988.
When Obama published his first memoir in 1995, you could argue it wasn't just about telling his life story, but about building a legend around himself. That's not just my interpretation either. David Maraniss, another biographer who spent years studying Obama's early life, put it this way. He said, quote, the theme of the memoir is race, and so both the chronology and the characters in his writing were used to advance that theme. On top of that, Garrow's research uncovered even more examples, showing that several key events were presented differently than they actually happened, to reinforce a particular narrative.
What it was that Sheila talks about that was so important, because little bits and pieces are coming out. To your mind, what is the heart of why Sheila matters and why we should have been curious about her in terms of what it says about Barack Obama?
As I said just a moment ago, Sheila was present, when Barack is really adopting a black identity, and that changes their relationship.
Because she is a white girlfriend, for those who did not know.
Well, I mean,
I guess her mixed race, I suppose. Yeah. She's got Japanese heritage as well.
Yes. Sheila's half Dutch, half Japanese. She does not identify as white. And also, Sheila's Dutch grandparents were very much involved in protecting Jews during World War II. But Sheila was angry that Barack did not share the intensity of her feelings about just how vile black anti-Semitism was.
Now, this one detail that Obama's memoir and his ex-girlfriend's account tell two opposing sides. And we'll get into it right after a quick word from today's sponsor. Now, recently, we featured Vault Strategic Mining, trading as KNXFF in the US and KNOX in Canada, highlighting how the company was assembling what could become one of America's most strategic tungsten portfolios. Well, since then, the story has gained more momentum. See, Vault has strengthened its position by acquiring 4 historic tungsten assets, led by its flagship war bond project in Nevada. Now, the timing really couldn't be better. The US still relies heavily on imported tungsten, with around 90% of it, of all global supply, controlled by geopolitical rivals. Now remember, this goes way beyond mining. Tungsten is a critical material used in everything from aircraft carriers and armored vehicles to precision-guided weapons. That's why Washington has made securing domestic critical minerals a national priority. Now, with billions of dollars being directed towards domestic production, Vault is positioning itself where policy and growing demand really intersect. If you want to learn more about them, check the link in the description. Special thanks to Vault Strategic Mining for making today's video possible. Now, in his 1995 memoir, Obama describes an argument with his ex over race, framing it as an embrace of black racial consciousness against her white liberal universalism. But according to Sheila herself, that's not what the disagreement was really about. She said the argument centered on Barack's refusal to condemn a Chicago mayoral aide who was promoting conspiracy theories about Jewish doctors supposedly targeting African American children. Now, that's a pretty significant difference. Now, if her account is accurate, then what Obama presented as a defining moment in his racial awakening was basically made up. Not to mention, Sheila is mixed race, making the way she was portrayed as white in the memoir even more absurd. Now, you might be wondering, how did Garrow track down this woman? Well, I'll let him explain things from there.
And again, we talked earlier about how incurious the journalism was. It was public record that Barack, had a girlfriend with whom he lived in Chicago who was a grad student. And no one had ever made the effort to, go look at the student directory to see who else was living at the same address as Barack Obama. That's how I found Sheila. My great younger research assistant at Chicago went to Regenstein Library and, pulled these old dusty student directories off the shelf. We also found the very nice couple who lived right upstairs from them, whom I talked to too.
Well, that pretty much sums up how much the media treated Obama. For years, there was very little interest in digging into his past while he was being presented as a once-in-a-generation political figure. Take his relationship with Resco, for example, who basically subsidized Obama's Chicago mansion under circumstances that are still unclear today. Or the fact that a Citigroup executive played a major role in staffing his first cabinet, something the public only learned after the WikiLeaks release in 2016. But that's part of a much broader pattern. Behind a charismatic image, there are still plenty of unanswered questions surrounding the former president. And in the end, history will be the ultimate judge. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, keep thinking.